right. Welcome back to Drop A Jewel with Malaka. Today I have Jamar James, entrepreneur and master lifestyle trader of DCG. Welcome, Jamar. Thank you for being here today.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here, and it's a glorious day right now.
Yes, it is. With so much going on in the world, I am so happy we are here. We are healthy, and we got a lot to talk about today, right?
Yeah, exactly. A lot to share.
Yeah, we had a brief introductory call the other day, and I almost felt like that was an episode, right?
Yeah, that was an awesome call. I mean, we had so much synergy and wanting to have the same impact and impact people positively. That's what it's about.
That's right. That's right. So today I want to get started by introducing you to our audience and just reintroducing you to the world. I'm sure you're pretty known already, right? I've done my research, but I want to reintroduce you to my audience in the world. And can you tell us, who is Jamar James?
Man, Jamar James is, that's a hard question. First of all, I'm a father. I take a lot of pride in being a father of two daughters. I grew up in the Bay Area and from a single family household. My mom was a lot of people in the Bay Area is blue collar workers, postmaster, post office. Dad, he was a trucker, but I never seen him. And, growing up across the Bay Area, being in Oakland and going to school in San Francisco, I used to go past the financial district, and there was no one I could, connect with in my family that could give me, insight on what they're doing over across the bridge. So I'm a curious guy that always wanted more. I've always felt abundance. That was always my energy, no matter how much, struggle we had. I felt like
so you were just kind of born just like that. You just always had that abundance energy, huh?
I just always felt lucky. I mean, I think, from your family point of view, when they call you, special, and you tell a kid that they're special, they believe it.
That's right.
And so I've always been told I was special and I was going to make it out. And, I never had a reason not to believe it.
That's wow. Wow. That's beautiful. Jamar, lucky you may be, but I don't think everything was luck, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about the Jamar, right? Because even though there's some luck and there's some you consider yourself special, your family, everyone saw something in you. Sometimes maybe we can't even see it in ourselves, right? But how did you get to become this entrepreneur, right? Was it luck that brought you to become this successful entrepreneur?
I mean, growing up, if you feel lucky, right? If it's the mindset, and I'm big on mindset. But if you feel you're special and you feel you're lucky, and you start to believe it, and when things happen, or you put yourself in positions in a scenario, and you have a little bit of success, you start believing that. And I think that's a big part of where we connected is that, belief is I believe all people are special. Everybody is unique, and everyone has, inside of them, they have something that makes them special, and you have to pull it out. And I was just blessed to be in a family that we didn't have much, but we had each other, and those words of encouragement. So I took in, I was blessed to be able to go to school in San Francisco, growing up in Oakland in a school district that, pretty much didn't have books when I was coming up. And so I was shipped across to the San Francisco, went to school there. I was put in school early because, childcare was expensive. So instead of going to childcare, my mom just put me in school early.
How'd you do that? Wait, because I was trying to figure that out for my boys, but they all set now. But how'd she do that?
I don't want to say because we're on a podcast, but my mom committed some fraud and changed my birth certificate. And she put some whiteout on it.
Figured it out. Let's just say Mom figured it out. Mom gonna figure it out. All right, I got you.
She figured it out, right? I'm from Oakland, and it's like you got to do what you got to do.
That's right. That's right.
I was actually, so I had extra work because I was in speech class as a kid. I was one of the kids that got put out of the classroom. They didn't know that I wasn't as old, so they gave me special attention. I got to read faster. I got to get extra help on math, and I ended up, going through my entire, school in gifted classes, right?
Wow.
Because I actually just got extra help, and I was in after
Wow.
school programs, which it put me in a situation of some of the situations is for your growth.
Yeah.
And being put in school early, it just put me on a special path in school where I got
That's right.
extra help, I got extra homework, I got extra classes after school, special programs for disadvantaged
Right.
kids.
Right. So Jamar, you're already dropping like a whole bunch of jewels before we even got there. But I think this is, first of all, thank you for honoring being that father, and putting that imagery out there, because like I told you before, this show, we want to shift those narratives about people that look like you and I, right?
Right.
So I love that father first. I'm here, I'm a father. But secondly, you're giving back to your roots and recognize where you come from and being true to that, but also recognizing like, hey, what mom had to do to get you to where you're at. So paying homage to mom, right? That's really important. Thanks to all the moms out there. Yeah, but 100%. more so, one thing that really stuck out to me that you already said, we didn't even get into all the things that you're doing just yet, but just like the mindset, the way you talk to yourself, the way people have always talked to you, telling you that you were special, something special about him, telling you that you were lucky. You started to believe those things. And, I'm a therapist and social work and stuff. So, right. So I tuned into what you said, but that's one of the biggest things that I talk to people about is the way they talk to themselves, their children, but also the way they're talked to, right? Because literally that is an energy. And I think you've already started to talk about energy, but our words are energy. There's a vibration connected with everything. Sometimes when people call themselves certain type of names, like the B word, I'm like, oh, sis, chill with that, because I said there's a certain energy connected with that word. It's a certain vibration connected with that word. Just like there is with negative words, there's a vibration connected with positive words. Right. And like you said, just from a child, you started to believe that. So I just wanted to put that out there because I don't want that to be overlooked, what you just said, of how powerful, because we're going to get to you and your story and what you're doing, but how just from the childhood, those key words of knowing you are special. And by the way, I want to tell you this. I've always felt like that my whole childhood, right? Since I was a young child, my dad and my mom have always taught me about identity, knowing who you are. And as a Black woman, as anyone in the United States, you went through some stuff. But if you always have something to come back to as your identity, then you're kind of resilient. This guy asked me the other day, how you so resilient? How you do all the things that you do? And I'm looking at him like, this is normal stuff to me. But to him, it was like I was Superwoman. But I have to go back to what you just said. The way I was talked to as a child shaped my reality, and it shaped yours. So I didn't want to overlook that, because that was a jewel right there. And the name of the show is
1,000%. And, before we talk about the financial and other things I've done, the big thing is why, right? I had this pressure as a kid too, that I was being told I was special. So I never wanted to let my family down, right? They told me that I was going to be the one that do these great things. And so that kept me on the straight and narrow as well, because it's like, they all believed in me so much that it made me believe in myself.
Wow.
Right.
That's a lot. Go ahead. I'm listening. I'm just,
and that is that's why it's so important for me to be a good father first. And I know as being a good father, I need resources. And so, the family unit is the most important part of our community that, gets broken down. And this is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about helping guys financially, guys and girls and mothers and fathers, because if I can help them, I know we can break generational curses, right?
That's
they have the resources to do it.
That's right.
So it's really, the passion is really bringing families together and bringing functional relationships back together, because that is where we break down. If your family unit is broken down and you don't hear those words, and you hear someone complaining all the time about how bad things are, then you start believing, how can you be so positive in a negative environment?
That's right. That's right. Wow. I love that. Just kind of coming back to the family unit itself. And I don't think people realize how sacred the family unit is, because if the family is together, and there's like all this healthy, vibrant energy within the family, that translates to the community, right? That translates to your pockets. That translates to all that thing.
I mean, we talked about, the love that floats around. Then you can love what you do. You can love other people. You can love, being around each other. And then you can love working together and being a family. But if you're always in anxiety and stressed out and you have these negative feelings, it's hard to, have that frequency, or it's hard to develop rapport. The communication breaks down.
Yeah.
Because you're on two different frequencies. One person stressed about money and somebody stressed about the job. It's hard to give your kid the love when these different stressors is changing your frequency.
Right. Absolutely. You just dropped the jewel right there. So I hope folks are already hearing that and paying attention to what you just said. But that is absolutely true. And what you said, there's a lot of science behind what you said too. If people don't believe you, there's so many studies and science to kind of prove what you just said. So I've talked about some of those things on my other podcasts. I'm not going to get into all that, but absolutely what you just said was correct. And sometimes people say, well, I don't believe it. Well, the science proves it then. Okay. If you don't believe that, then pay attention to the science. But all right. So now you're from Oakland, right?
From Oakland, California, born and raised.
Okay. And so being born and raised in Oakland, California, can you give us a glimpse of what that was like if you were always considered the lucky one or the special one or the one that had all this pressure on you? What was that like growing up in Oakland?
It's just, I mean, I think kids are naturally good, and love is a powerful emotion and feeling. And when you feel loved, you reciprocate that. And, I was, you have to adjust to your environment. And so when I walk out the house and, I have a relative, an uncle, and an auntie, a cousin, they all on drugs, right? But we still see that they're still loved. You feel bad for them. And it kind of is like, hey, you don't want to turn out like your auntie or uncle, but nobody in the family did not love them. They just knew they had a drug problem, right?
Right.
And then you go see all your other friends and they going through the same situations, but they're worried about rent. They're worried about this. You start feeling grateful that, hey, I don't have to worry about that. Hey, I have a pair of shoes. I don't have to wear the same shoes I wore last year. And then you start feeling like, man, I'm gratitude.
Right.
And so the gratitude of, I had a best friend that we were at 13 and, my family was able to give me money. We wanted to buy the Adidas jackets and the Adidas hats and shoes. And, he decided to sell drugs and he didn't want to let his family, his dad know that he was selling. So when the police came, he swallowed it. And 13-year-old, he died. He was my best friend. And so, he swallowed the drugs because he didn't want his parents to find out what he was doing. And that was another thing. It's like, the disgrace of the family, of not being able to wanting to make your family proud. And so that also stuck with me as well is, my grandfather used to tell me like, hey, I don't care what you do, just don't use drugs. Right. And my whole environment, Oakland, was the place where the government, put crack. That's where they put it first to get rid of the Black Panthers.
That's right.
It was always a desire to stay, one, out of jail and two, stay away from the pitfalls of the environment. And my family, I see them sacrifice and give me everything they can to keep me away from it.
Wow. Well, you sure are the lucky one because to make it out and come back and give back, because a lot of people, sometimes they do make it out, but they don't think about coming back and giving back and kind of saying, how can I, break that cycle? So, it's unfortunate that we have to grow up seeing these things in our communities, but it's even more fortunate when we can say, you know what, I like to break that pattern. And what can I do? Because I am someone who did make it out, but not just make it out, but come back.
And let me tell you the flip side to that, because, my mom was, in the Black Panthers and grandfather was a Teamster. They told me when I make it out, don't come back. They told me bring all your family and get them out of there. And it's like I moved my mom out. I moved my sister out. They saying that it didn't belong to us. This neighborhood, it was a project. It was something that they encapsulate. We had more police circulating us and more crime. How do you have more police and more crime in the same area?
That's right.
And so they told
that's a design, right? It's literally designed to It's
It was
doing exactly what it was designed to do.
designed to do that. So when people take ownership of a hood or inner city and say they have to come back home, when it's like, no, you need to bring your people out of there because it is a trap.
It
It
is.
is it is not designed for you to succeed in that environment.
That's
The
right.
schooling is not the best. The education, the amount of jobs there are not the best. Like, what is the best there?
Yeah.
Besides, we have each other, and if we love each other, we take each other out of there, but we can't leave because we don't have the financial resources.
Yeah, and that's what we're about to get into, those resources.
The resources.
And you are absolutely right. Before we get to resources, I just want to ask you one question. How was it like growing up around the Panthers, or seeing some of the Black Panthers, or having some of that closeness? Because, I look around now, and I'm fortunate to have some good models in my community and my family, but I feel sometimes for the youth because they don't really have a lot of that organization and community and models like that. But I just want to know real quick, that's my real quick question. Like, how was that like growing up with the Black Panthers around and seeing that imagery? And
I mean, it was a gift and curse because I grew up in a crack age where you have all these old guys that are telling you the stories, but then you look at their situation, you look at them on drugs, or you look at people that's older and they're trying to teach the youth, and they're doing drugs. We came, to be honest, I came from an environment where we use crackhead and all these dope fiend, and we use these negative derogatory, so we kind of missed out on the history.
Wow.
Huey Newton got shot right in front of my my auntie house, and it's like we know the kids that did it, and they don't understand the history and the impact that they had in their history because the community was so distressed.
Wow.
But yeah, as I got older, I can go back and I talk to them, and it's like this was a vision, this was a plan, and then they tell me that what resources we would have had it, but they had so much other, it was a war, and the infighting, right? The different groups that was lobbying for control or in a front. It was really should have been by enemies necessary. So you get to learn of one, how wicked the system is, and then you also get to learn how did that happen, right? And that's why I say that when you're in inner city and everybody's fighting over the resources, right? They're fighting over what you have. You're fighting over scraps. You don't have enough.
That's right.
And
okay.
So, right.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Thank you for giving us that, vision. Well, not vision, but that picture of that imagery of what that was like, and also the experience. I want to ask you this: as a social worker, as someone who's always, trying to help people and look for resources. Resources is the biggest issue for most people. A lot of people come to me for depression and anxiety, but most of the time their issues can be dealt with if they had resources, they had finances, they had more access and just more financial wealth and knowledge and literacy. So I think what's a little different from what me and some other social workers I know and people in this field and behavioral health field, I like to address financial literacy. That's part of my assessment. My whole assessment, my comprehensive assessment is not only am I asking you about your family history and your presenting problems, but I'm asking you about your financial literacy, right? How are you getting income? What are your hopes and desires and your dreams and your visions? What are you good at? Are you able to pay your bills? And if not, and if so, what is your plans? Or if you can or can't. So I'm really doing an assessment around those things when I meet with folks.
Right.
And I also, as a social worker, we're not taught that. I remember when I was in school, we were taught, hey, you're going to save the world, but you're going to be broke. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Slavery's over, right? Right? But I just couldn't I could say, hey, I would like to help people, but I couldn't take on that narrative because our people have been through enough oppression. We've given enough up. Ain't no way I'm going to work for free. So, But I also think it is my due diligence to give back to the community, to give to people. That's a gift that I have. So I want to talk to you about resources and how you became an entrepreneur and what you're doing with your entrepreneur. Because you got some brilliant stuff going on here, and you have a whole mindset program that, I think can shift a lot of people's lives just by, having this conversation that we're having today.
Right. So, a big part, like you asked me about the Black Panthers and what was in the neighborhood. Well, I joined the Marine Corps.
Okay.
And one thing that's bigger than resources is environment, because you actually, you adapt to your environment. We humans, right? You put me in the desert, I'll learn how to survive in the desert. You put me in the mountains, I'll learn how to survive there. You put me in a place where, family and God, is taught to the Marines, and there's an integrity and honesty and take care of your family type mentality, right? The environment kind of impacts the way that we are able to thrive or survive. I tell my people that my friends I first had when I was growing up, it was out of survival. We needed each other, right? I couldn't go to the store by myself, but I needed them. But as you get older, now I can pick my friends on, hey, can we thrive together? Can we actually do more?
Wait, say that one more time. Say that one more. Hold on. You say your friends, you needed them to survive together. I want you to say it one more time.
Right? When you're growing up and you grow up in an environment, you have friends out of survival, right? Your friends are based on survival and association and closeness of, hey, we're going to grow up together.
Right.
And at some point, as you get older, now I don't need friends for survival. I need them to thrive.
Right.
Right. So I get to pick my friends to thrive with. My first set of friends, my day ones, they were my survival friends. We survived together. Right. And now at some point you need to say, hey, where can I go to thrive? And that required me to leave my neighborhood. It required me to leave that area because I didn't know what was possible. Right. It's almost like, if you're all surrounded by guys just trying to survive, who's going to teach you how to thrive?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so even having the financial resources, if you give it to a millionaire, if you win a lotto, most 80% of lotto winners end up broke in 2 to 3 years because
that's true.
They still didn't know how to thrive with the money.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So the financial literacy is important. Right. It's important. But, for my motto it was like my goal was to come back to Oakland, open up a nonprofit, teach financial literacy, help guys get money so they wouldn't have to sell drugs like my best friend did and die or go to jail. And then I had a mentor. I had a business coach. I had other Marines that kind of like gave me guidance.
That's
and it was like, no matter how much money you take in the neighborhood, people are still trying to survive. Right. And you become, a target. I mean, like you can build all the biggest, nicest things you want, but people are still in survival mode.
That's right.
And after they leave your place of what you built, of course, you have some people that's going to break in. Some people are going to do this. It's better for you to bring them outside your neighborhood and give them opportunity.
That's right.
Now they can feed their family. And so my thing was the environment, learning from other men, people that, like I said, I grew up in a house that my aunties, my uncles, my cousins, they were all alcoholics or crackheads or dope fiends. So the respect wasn't like, hey, this guy's going to really tell me this story and teach me this, but I see you selling the TV on the corner. It's like, like from my experience, it's like I needed a different environment and guys I could respect to learn from. And, I still loved my relatives, but I actually listened more to people I didn't know. Yeah. Right. I listened more to people that I seen and I said, hey, you know what? They have a good family. They have money. They have a nice car and they didn't sell any drugs.
They're doing something a little different.
They're doing something different. Right. And they're not working as hard as my mom. Right. My mom would leave to work at 6 o'clock in the morning and come back at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. And so really, how much time did I spend with my mom? And I had parents, or I had a parent. I spent most of the time with my grandfather because he worked from 3, got off at like 10 o'clock. So I spent from 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 7, 8 o'clock with him until my mom was able to pick me up. So
what I want to say? Oh, sorry to cut you off. Yeah, no, I want to say this before I forget this thought too, not to cut you off, but you mentioned something like the people you didn't know, right? Like you learn from them. And I think that's interesting because as you were saying that, I was thinking about sometimes, like, how you said about the survival, like the day ones are the ones you learn how to survive with, but that the day ones can be also your family. And sometimes even in family situations, you're trying to thrive or do better, but family be like, they give you that face. But it'd be a stranger or someone you don't know who will give you more insight sometimes. And I'm just like, it just blows me away sometimes when I see stuff like that because when you need help with something, or you're trying to work on this vision, or you have this bright idea, you'll tell it to family. I hear these stories all the time, and people are always shut down.
People don't understand, though. Your family members, they're in survival mode as well. And so
That's
to
right.
think that you have the answers, right? And to think that you're going to make it out, they don't believe in themselves a lot of times. So how are they going to believe in you when they've seen you grow up, right? They've seen you in the same. So if you make it, it's kind of like, well, how did they not make it? You're in the same environment, right?
Wow.
So they're all surviving together. Now you're trying to get out of survival mode, but your family is not going to be the ones that help you get out of survival mode.
That mindset that we're talking about, right?
Because, yeah, I mean, it's like the same thing with my family. I say, hey, I've seen you do drugs. So, you messed up in your life. You did something that, like, I can't really, really believe that you're going to help me. Right? Because you have to have belief. You got to have belief that, hey, that's why people pay for mentors and get a business coach outside their family. Because they believe that person is going to help them. Whether he's good or not, or she's good or not, they're professional, and you're going to give them more grace than you would give someone that you've seen fail.
Wow. You're absolutely right. Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just had to, I just had to chime in on that one.
I think that's a big, it's missed in our community. It's not that they don't want to support us. It's that they've been in survival mode and they don't have a belief in themselves. How are they going to believe in you? Like, I mean, a lot of times it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And the same thing, they say, I want to start a business. Yeah. Most of our people are first generation business owners. So of course their first business is going to fail. And we see most of our people, their first business fail. So then you say, hey, everybody that's trying to start a business, I know they failed. I'm not giving you the money.
Right. And it's funny too, in the way you said that. A lot of times when I meet with people with relationship issues, sometimes they have these high expectations for their partner. Like, why isn't he or she doing this? And they need to be doing this. And I'm like, can I ask you a question? A lot of times I tell you, it never fails. I say, can you do those things that you asking your partner to do? And they'd be like, no. I'm like, so you don't even believe, you don't even want to do it, but you expect someone else to do it. Or you don't even believe that you believe this person should be doing something that you can't even do for yourself or would do for that person. So I just thought that was an interesting dynamic of how people don't believe in, what they choose to believe in or what they don't believe in. And I just thought, I was thinking about relationships and how that same mindset is in a lot of relationships that I see that I work with. People that have expectations for other people that they don't even have, they wouldn't even do themselves.
Right.
Yeah. And I just thought about that.
That's because you can't compete with someone's imagination.
Come on. Wait a minute.
Right?
Wait a minute. Wait, say that again, because that's going to be a meme or something. You can't compete
with someone's imagination. Right?
What's that mean? Tell us what that means.
They visualize something in their mind that this is how the world should be, and this is how relationships should be. This is how a business should be, but they haven't lived it. Right? It's their imagination. Right? The same thing. Everybody wants to be a business owner until they say, "Hey, I haven't made no money in 7 months, and I'm still hustling. I'm still going. I'm still trying."
Mm-hmm.
Right? They need to hear that story of, no, he wasn't an overnight success. He was a 23-hour worker for 2 years.
Right? Right.
You got the Facebook highlight. You didn't get the entire story.
Yeah, you didn't get the whole story. You only got the meme, right? So, all right. So let's get right into this resources to your entrepreneurial mindset. Tell us more about what you're doing, how you got to this point. And you can describe it, because I think what you're doing is a phenomenon almost. So it's kind of hard for me to put it in words. It's not hard, but like I said, it's like a phenomenon. So I'd like you to discuss that.
So when I went to the Marine Corps, I got assigned to a unit, and I got surrounded by other gentlemen and men and women that were higher than me. And, I learned more from being hands-on, right? And they told me, here's the rules, here's how we operate. And I went through leadership and management classes. I took courses. I went to college while I was in the Marines. And while I was in, I had guys say, hey, you need to buy property. You need to buy real estate. Uh-huh. And so, I was influenced to buy real estate and start investing as a young man. And then I was able to pay for my college, and I got into computer science. Uh-huh. I got an IT job, and I got an IT job, and I got there, and they were going through this transition. And the older guys told me like, hey, you become a dinosaur here. You don't want to stay here. You want to be a consultant. You want to go each place and learn, and you'll get paid as you move around, but don't stay anywhere longer than 7 months because technology change. And it's just more if you keep moving around. And so I took that advice and I moved around. I was still buying property. And I got into Prime America, which was like an MLM because I wanted to know finances. I wanted mutual funds and stocks. I was always interested in that. And I was like, here's my opportunity to learn it. I went through and they wanted me to market and sell to others. And I was like, no, I want to do it for myself. Like I can't sell anything that I'm not doing myself. So I bought real estate. I had an IT consulting company. And then I started getting into the stocks. I basically moved to Arizona and I got a mentor. And he's like, I actually was getting properties. He was going to the courthouse buying auctions and properties. And he was like, how are you getting these foreclosures? I was actually walking and door knocking and knocking. And then people liked me because it was authentic. And I was a young man, meeting people. And he couldn't get some of the houses like I can get. He was like, well, hey, can I buy these houses? I was like, nah, I had a deal. You can buy them from me. Or, can I learn from you? Can I pay you to mentor me?
Right? Okay. And it starts.
And he said, no. He's like, I'm not going to mentor my competition.
Oh.
Right. And so he's like, I'm not going to mentor my competition. I want to know how you're getting those properties. And it was like, it's relationship based. Right.
Yeah.
I was able to make relationships where, I was getting guys before they went into foreclosure. And so we kept going back and there was deals. He was like, the only way I would mentor you if you gave me 50% of everything you make.
Yeah. Okay.
And and at that point, I was at 250, 300,000 a year. And I was like, there's information I don't know. Right. And I never had someone show me.
Did you do it?
I did it.
Oh, okay. You took that leap. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, his name was Dave Keller and the guy had a stroke and half his face was numb and he'd been through life. But he basically gave me a lot of hands-on training and let me and follow him and shadow him. And we did deals together. And, at first year with him, I made like $1 million. But he got 500,000.
Okay, but that's okay. So because you were making up to 300K that year about, right?
I was by myself, 300.
By yourself. But so even by yourself, even giving him half, you still went up.
It went up. It went up. But, some of the things I learned was, life lessons. Just in the lifestyle area of, the fine dining, the drinking wine, what was golf for? Because one of the things that we don't have, right? When I was taught to work, you work hard. Well, what happens when you work hard? It takes up all your time, right? And so, for you to be a doctor, he works hard, right? And he gets paid a lot, but it's his time. So, as a doctor, you know the difference in the McDonald's employee because your same 8 hours is the same as the doctor. He just gets paid more. So when you have your time, you can go play golf. You can go eat at a fine wine. It could be a guy that's making 50 million there. It could be a guy that's making 200 million. You had an opportunity with your time. Wow. So if you want to really build wealth, you got to have time.
You got to have time. Have time, people. You got to have time. Okay.
So we would, take a day. We would take a day and just knock on every door in the neighborhood, and he would do it with me, and we would knock on the door. And the goal was just to build relationships, not to sell him anything or anything, because the goal was that it's money is a relationship business, and people do business with who they like. So that was one of the valuable lessons I learned is, one, being authentic and real. And so he's like, so he gave me an assignment. He's like, your goal is just to get in a person's house and have them invite you in. And I was like, well, damn, I'm a black guy. I'm going to go on a regular block and just knock on people's door and they're going to let me in. Yeah, and after my third house, I figured it out. It was like when I walked there and says, hey, I'm being mentored, and my mentor told me that I had to, find a way to get in your house. Yeah. I told them the story, they would let me in because the story was I was being real.
Yeah, the authenticity, right? Authenticity.
Right. And so it's like, oh, that's why you're here at the door. That's like, but if I try to make up a story,
Yeah,
right?
people can see right through that. They're like,
Getting to
they
work,
closed that door.
right? So that's the gem for everybody who's watching is that, whatever you're doing in life, if you're authentic and real and show passion, it will get you a lot further because if not,
Right.
the truth is the truth.
Yep.
Right. And no one can argue with that.
Yep.
And that is, so those are some of the lessons. And at the end of the year, I says, hey, we've been doing this. You made all this money off of me. I don't ever negotiate. He was like, my time is my time. And I don't negotiate my time. We can be partners and we can do 50-50 deals. But if I'm going to mentor you, this is my price. 50% we make. Or we can do partners and I have my time back.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was another model. So, I mean, that's how I learned through others. Yeah. And so I was actually trading, I learned how to trade. I worked for a few firms. I had a computer science degree. I was able to work at funds and prop firms, and I was able to see their high frequency trade machines. And so I got insight by taking a job, right? Yeah. And it's like I took a job and I realized that, okay, this works different than what we're told. Like this is not a regular stock trading. Like, they buy at certain levels. They use math. They recalibrate their machines.
Right.
I started trading and I started making money. And then people on Facebook, they knew me from the real estate world. But when I started buying crypto in 2015 and 16, I started seeing the prop guys go over and they're trading. They're like, hey, they're buying Bitcoin. I thought it was just something to trade, like gold, oil. I didn't realize the community and the technology that was involved until I got involved. And I was like, this is bigger than just a asset to trade. And so as I'm trading and making money in crypto, 2016, 17 come, people that had groups and they were trying to teach crypto, they were trying to teach people how to trade. They were like, well, we're getting our people into crypto, but we don't really know how to trade. And so they said,
what's trading? Like what, if you, not to cut you off again, but what is trading? If you had to like explain it in this way, because I think sometimes people get kind of like confused with like trading and stocks and all those different things.
So if you're in a hood, trading is going to find a bucket that you bought for $500.
Wait, hold on, wait. Start all over. If you're in the hood, go ahead. Sorry.
If you're in the hood, you buy low, sell high. You go find an asset that people want in that neighborhood. Yeah. Whether you can be a junk man, you can pick up cans. You go find it. You get it for the low price. And then you go and you sell it for the high price.
Okay, got it.
That is a trade. And bartering has been around since the beginning of time. It was in the Bible, right? Or even before the Bible. Humans have always bartered and traded.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. So I like to say that, slaves don't trade. They get traded. Right? Free people trade. Free people trade their time for money. They trade items for, they know the value. So when it comes to the stock market, we buy things low and we sell it high. Or if it comes to investments or real estate, you buy low, you sell high. That's a trade.
Wow, that's the easiest, best definition I've ever heard in my life on trading. I like how you said if you're in the hood, because like sometimes people is trying to figure it out, and I like the plain talk sometimes. Sometimes when you're talking about things, it needs to be in the plainest talk. Sometimes
plain simple. It's like simple.
Yeah.
People complicate it to make themselves sound important. We're just buying things low and selling it high, whether it's on crypto, stocks, options, oil, whatever. You just buying low, selling high.
That's right. Okay, we got it. Buying low, selling high. All right, got it.
All right. And it needs to have demand. So I teach guys that volume and price matters more than anything else. Right? Somebody can tell you this is worth a lot, but if you can't resell it, it's not worth what you pay for it. But if it's a lot of demand for it, then you have plenty of people that want to buy it. So that's the same thing with crypto. It goes up and down. Bitcoin, right? And there's, it's sold all around the world. It's a global currency. It's no different than a peso, a yen, a ruble, a currency in a different country, right? You can have a peso in America, but people want dollars. You can have a ruble here, and they're like, "Now we deal in dollars." So you get currency exchange. Yeah, exchange my Bitcoin for dollars, and it's the same as exchanging my yen or pesos for dollars. So it's just a currency. Most currencies are ran by governments. If I'm in Mexico, they use the peso. If I'm in Japan, they use the yen.
Right.
Bitcoin is borderless. There's no country that owns it. So for the people. So people can buy crypto or Bitcoin and they can resell it globally.
Okay.
That is
wow, this is powerful. Yes.
Yeah, so when people say, "Oh, I don't want that money," or "I don't want that," it's like if you went to Mexico and you had $10,000 in pesos, when you got to America, all you would do is go to an exchange or airport and be like, "Hey, I need to get dollars."
Right. You're going to trade it, right?
You're going to trade it. You're going to trade it for dollars. You're going to exchange it.
Okay.
So that's the same thing. So if people don't want to trade crypto or Bitcoin, they can trade Amazon. They can trade Facebook. They can trade Nike. They can trade McDonald's. They can trade the stock.
All the things that they're eating and wearing that they know people demand, right?
Everything. So my wife loves to go to Starbucks. I tell her, like, let me make money on Starbucks and then I'll put that in your account. I'll trade it, buy it low, sell it high. We get the difference. And now you can go load that money on your rewards.
Right. I love that.
Starbucks paid for Starbucks.
Right. So, all right. So now we have this definition of what trading is, what it looks like, how it works. And I also like how you put, like, slaves get traded, right? And we're trying to shift that mindset, right? And so let's talk more about your program and what you're doing.
Let's talk about slaves real quick.
Okay, let's talk about slaves then. Let's go.
So when you go to work, you're trading your time, right? You're trading your time, especially if you don't love your job, right? So when you give your time to someone, you actually give them your life. Because no matter how much money you have, no matter what materials you have, whether I make $1 an hour or $10 million an hour, it's the same hour. Yeah, and that's what makes us equal in the world.
Right.
So your kid, whether you work at McDonald's or you're a doctor, if you only spending 1 hour a day with him, he only gets 1 hour, right? And part of the thing that the reason I like trading is I can make 2,000, 10,000, 20,000 in an hour, 2 hours. You're trading your time, and the time freedom is what a lot of people don't have to make their quality of life better. But if you are able to make the same amount of money that you can make in a week, you can make it in a day, right? It gives you so many more options to follow your passion, to work with, to love your kids, to make your relationships better. It increases your quality of life, which, a wealthy person, after you buy all the material things you ever wanted, what makes you equal is you still have the same amount of time. No matter what he does, he's going to die the same way that we're going to die. But
time is so important, right? You can't get that back. And even as a professional, like, they try to burn us out all the time with, like, overload of paperwork and all the things you got to kind of guidelines. And, I just want to help people. I don't want to sign up for all that and take away from my life. So a lot of people don't realize, as a therapist or social worker, sometimes you're seeing your clients, people think that's it. You go home. No, that's not it. You got all this paperwork and guidelines and trainings and things that you got to do. And more recently, like, I through such a blessing and a friend, like, I found some technology and ways to kind of really help, like, free up my time, right? So I can have more time with my family, have more time with my kids, because you cannot get that back, and it's so valuable. And so I feel, not saying I'm on a slave mentality, but you feel less like you're a slave because you're not the job should be working for you. You shouldn't be working for the job, right? Like, your income, wherever you're getting that income from, I feel like should not overtake and overpower you. Like, when your parents were always constantly working, right? So the quality of life shifts. When someone's always working, they don't have that time to go meet up and network with millionaires at the golf club and things like that, because it's constant work.
And they never had a mindset shift, right? Because their environment, everybody worked in their environment. Everybody, like for me, I was just in St. Louis this weekend. A lot of your friends can't travel unless you get a new environment, right? Because everybody's at work. So, the working aspect is that you owe yourself abundance. You owe yourself, like, it's a blessing to be a social worker, but you shouldn't feel that you don't have time,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
You should have time, and you should be able to do the things you love and help the people you love to help. And
Right.
this is what our environment is about. Is that, what other, like my mom worked for the post office 35 years. She never even had an opportunity. We had to wait for tax returns to get a big chunk of money, or she had to have a good Christmas where people put money into the envelopes for her delivering mail for us to have a big chunk. Otherwise, it was paycheck to paycheck,
Yeah.
right? And we lived paycheck to paycheck her entire 35 years mostly. So how much freedom do you really have? Even though you have a good job and you're working, you're not really free. So when we talk about slaves,
right, and you say you owe yourself abundance.
You owe yourself abundance. God,
right?
If you believe in God, they put you here to create and grow. But if you stay in the same place for 35 years, or you never have the resources to even change it, how are you gonna grow?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And this is what our environment is about. It is really about the freedom, and it's about family. And we just realize that the resources in trading can get us that a lot faster after we learn the skill, and we can use it for the rest of our lives. Like when I picture my future self, I don't picture myself working at Walmart or Home Depot on a retirement, getting a check. I picture myself somewhere on an island with my phone, still able to make $2,000 or $3,000 in a day.
Right, and your phone could be your office while you're on that yacht.
From anywhere. So that is, you're not trading for the day. You're not learning it for the day. You're learning it for your future self. You're learning it for your kids, right? You have to have a bigger why. So the reason I do what I do is for my family, but also I wanted to have friends that I can leverage them. So they said, man, what's your hustle? Why teach other people? It's like I'm data mining, because now if I teach 100 people, now I got 200 eyeballs in the market. I got 400 ears, right? And now they're bringing me deals where I don't have to look for them as much, because what are we trying to do? Buy low, sell high.
Right.
And now I have a bunch of smart people in a mastermind environment that is sharing information and making we all can win at the same time.
That's right.
Wow. We all
Wow.
can make money, right?
Wow.
And we all have the same mindset. So now my environment in this mastermind, people are not trying to work all weekend. They're not trying to trade all week, every day, 8 hours a day.
Right.
They can make their money in 30 minutes an hour and be like, hey, I'm done for the week.
Right. That's right. That's right. Well, tell us how we can do that. So how can someone who feels like, okay, like times are tough right now. For many people right now, they're struggling to pay, like paycheck to pay, like not even paycheck to paycheck, but like a lot of people are struggling right now to pay their bills, or, even with 2 or 3 jobs, people are struggling. So if someone says, yes, I'd like to start trading, but I just can't seem to get out of, get enough money to do it, what would you say to somebody like that?
I'm going to ask them how they invested in themselves. How have you ever invested in yourself? Right? For me, I tell guys, it's a mindset. Even losing weight or eating healthy, that's an investment that doesn't cost anything. So it's that mindset shift, is that if you want it, it is available. Like you can come into trading. We have programs where someone will fund your account. They'll put money in your account if you know how to trade, but you have to invest in learning how to trade. And that's where they come in our environment. And it's like, well, maybe you don't make money the first month. Maybe it is about just learning what you don't know. And so that's the mastermind environment. It is that it's an investment into yourself. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to commit to? Because people want the money, but they don't want to learn. And so we have 3 stages. The fundamentals is first. You got to know your basic, how the market works, which we teach. Second, it is strategy. How do I trade money? How do I protect it? And then third is the lifestyle. Most people that get into the trading environment, they've been sold the lifestyle.
Yeah.
Hey, you actually have to learn what you're doing, because this is your money that you're going to put at risk.
Right,
so
right.
We don't want you to lose money in the beginning. We want you to learn the fundamentals. And if they're struggling and they don't have time to learn, they don't have 1 hour a day.
I don't have time for all that. Those people who say, I don't have time for all that, but can't figure out how to make money.
35 years and you get a plaque in a newspaper article like my mom, thank you for your 35 years of service.
Wow.
Or you go on COVID and they say, hey, you know what? I know you only have 2 years to retire, but we're going to have to let you go year 17. So you're taking a risk no matter what. And it's like if your dreams, if you're not investing in your dreams and your goals outside of your day job, or not investing in chunks of how, buying a house is how a lot of people preserve wealth, right? They buy a house and they're able to loan against it, or they pass it down to their family. Otherwise they don't have a way to get big chunks of money.
Right.
Trading is an investment where you can actually make money on a daily basis. With us, I mean, that is kind of our goal. We start today. Before you make 1,000 or being sold to make 5,000 a day, your goal is $50, $100. Because if you made $50 a day for a month, you just made $1,000.
Yeah.
Right. That's low. Most people are 200 to 500, which 500 a day, 5 days a week is 10,000 extra a month.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. So with time, if people took a little time to invest in themselves, because I see people spending money on I tell a lot of my clients, just family, even myself, I say, yo, they say, oh, I'm struggling. I said, can I ask you a question? Tell me how many subscriptions you got this month. Go in your account and tell me how many subscriptions you got that you're not even using. And most of the time, people end up finding that cash that they've been divvying out every month to subscriptions that they're never even using. And the average I find is $150. And I'm saying, you're so broke, but you have $150 to give away every month to something you're not even using.
Right.
And with trading, could someone use that money like that? How low could someone start to trade, right? Like,
I mean, my program, I have a free program, and then we have a trade school that's $300 a month. And then we have a mastermind that's $500 a month.
Okay.
So I don't target, people that are struggling, because to me, you need to generate income.
Yeah.
Right? And so they need to make extra money. They need to make money, right? It's like the goal is that you need to invest, whether it's school or a trade school. You need to make money to say, hey, I want out of this situation, right? And if I don't convince them that, hey, you have to figure out where your money's at. Like if you're not doing it, nobody's going to motivate you to get to break free, right?
Right, that's true.
What slave master has motivated a slave to break out of the slave house?
Right.
Right. If you're not willing to run and get your leg cut off, you're not.
They're trying to create more slaves. They're trying to create better slaves, right?
Better slaves, right? So that's this opposite. I'm about freedom and independence, and nobody's gonna give it to you.
That's
nobody's gonna give you free. Nobody's gonna come. Nobody's not gonna kick you down your door and get you off the couch and say, "Hey, you need to come invest in this program." Nobody's gonna do that. They're gonna say, "Hey, you stay there."
Right.
So, for me, it is really giving an environment that, hey, now you see real people. They're making real money. We had a guy made $200,000 last week in one day. $100,000 in one day. Like, where else? Like, some people don't even believe it's real. Yeah. But then when you see them and you're rubbing elbows, like the same way when people go to the golf course, and I see these guys got their own jets and everything like that. Most of us are not in that environment to even rub shoulders, right? Yeah. Because we're trying to be on 8 hours on the golf course at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning playing around the golf.
Yeah.
Right. So you never rub into people that even have that.
Right.
So the environment is important, because now it inspires you. Like, damn, he just made 100,000 in a day, and I'm talking to him on the chat, or I'm seeing him on Zoom.
Right.
Now it becomes real that this guy just like me.
Right. And as you were saying that, I was wondering what the guy did that who got the 200,000. I'm like, he got that in a day. How did he spend the rest of his week? I was just picturing that just briefly. Like, what was the rest of his week like?
Oh, he was in the market again the next day because he said he made a meal this month.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So like it's a passion that, hey, this is what we love doing it as well, right?
Yeah.
You can't force someone to do something over and over again if they don't love it.
That's right.
So that's when lifestyle becomes.
Yeah. How do you think? I know we're getting close to time, but I want to ask you this. How do you think? So, what are the 3 different programs you have? What is the difference between each program that you have?
So, one is the 7-day challenge. Is the free program. It is just designed to get people started. It is a course I created in 7 steps where they can follow, and then they can ask questions. But I don't give them it's not a live class with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in our trade school, we have live classes 5 days a week.
Okay.
And there we interact. And then in the mastermind, it is where all, my successful traders, new traders, we're all working together in the same group. So there's 3 levels, but you get a lot of people who say, "Hey man, can you just help me?" I give them the 7-day challenge, and it's like, here's a whole entire course, but it's self-paced. You can do it at your own pace, own thing. And then when you want more, you want to actually be involved and you want someone's time and you want to be in the class and around other guys that are a little bit more serious, they're investing themselves, then you come into our trade school. And
I want to get the mastermind program. I want to get there, but I guess I got to start. I got to start somewhere, right? But I'm already thinking.
So trade school is where I recommend everyone starts, because you have guidance on how to get set up and everything else. The 7-day challenge, you can do it all yourself, but it teaches you one aspect. The thing is that you can go get everything on YouTube, Google. You can get everybody get free information now. But what you need is clarity, and you need to be able to ask questions, and you need to be able to walk through and get feedback. Because if you're doing something and the first time something abnormal happens, and then you're confused, you're never going to have clarity.
Yeah. Right. That's like kind of that mentorship like Mr. Keller gave you, right? That mentorship was so valuable, right? So like you said, anyone can go on Google or YouTube and learn something, right? We can learn a lot, but we need that guidance. We need that mentorship a lot of times, especially in this field.
Most people that learn on their own, it takes them 10 times more, right? They got it for free, but they just burn time.
Yeah.
You don't pay for information, you pay for cultivation and speed.
Yeah. Wow. This is amazing. You don't pay for information, you pay for cultivation and speed.
Cultivation and speed. I mean, because you can get the information for free, but how long would it take you?
Right. Absolutely. Outside of trading, you need to come up with your own sayings and put them all on sweaters. And I think you can do really good with that too. I think you'll do very well in that area.
Actually, I do have a book.
Okay, let's talk about that
book. Secrets of the Money Mind Connection.
Yes. Okay, let's go. Wait, put that up one more time because I need us to get that. The secrets of the money mind connection. All right. So where can we get that book?
On Amazon.
Amazon,
I can go to themoneymindconnection.com.
Okay, perfect. And I'll definitely put that in for our viewers. How many books you have? Hold on. How many you got?
That's the one I made because we normally trade, but I help people with the mindset, the money mindset. Sometimes the obstacles is the money.
Okay.
Right? People don't want it. They don't want to invest. They never invested. They think they're going to lose money when they're losing time.
Yeah, right? For sure. Yeah.
That's the difference between wealthy and rich, right?
Right.
Wealthy people make their money work for them.
Yeah.
Rich people make other people work for them.
Oh my goodness! See, here's another shirt. Here's another sweater. All right, Jamar. I know I don't want to take all your time because I know how valuable this hour is, and I so do appreciate you being here today. This message that you're sending to our audience and listeners is so truly valuable. I mean, just all throughout this whole hour, we've just dropped several jewels in. If people can't pick up on that, I don't know what to tell you. But I want to ask you before we end today, and we're going to do a part 2, and maybe I'm going to come out to Cali to DCG Mastermind group and just, and of course we can work together. But I want to ask you, if you had to drop another jewel, because you dropped several today, the point of the show is dropping jewels, right? Drop a jewel with Malaka. Before we leave today, what would you say is the jewel you want to drop?
I mean, invest in your future self, right? The things you do today, right, is really for tomorrow. And so you have to, live in your life of how you want your future self. If you can do one thing, write yourself a letter and picture yourself 10 years from now, writing yourself a letter today.
Wow. Okay. Write that letter.
Write that letter from yourself 10 years from today.
Wow. Did
What
you ever do
advice would
that?
you give yourself?
Yeah. Did you ever do that for yourself? Because you seem to like you wrote a few letters or something. But did you do that
I'm,
before?
I'm always, we do a morning mindset call where I'm always, manifesting and talking to myself, right? Because as a trader, if I give you advice, right, it's external. You can get your best answers from yourself,
That's right.
right? You're going to have to trust yourself at some point and say, hey, you know
Right.
what? I have it within.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the end of the day, I can help guys make money. I can point them through. I can give them direction. What happens when I'm not there?
Right. Right. Wow. Write that letter. People got to write that letter to their self and their future self and invest in their future self. Wow. This has been a beautiful show. I'm so amped up. I think I was like, this man is dynamic. What you're doing is great, but like I said, phenomenal, right? But more so like the history. I'm thinking about, it's like, there's no limit. There's no ceiling, right? It's
right.
This money mindset thing is so powerful. And I think it's well needed in our community and just well needed for anyone who wants to invest in themselves and invest in their future.
Yeah, and I think you don't have to chase money. You attract it. So, like the person that needs to hear this message will hear it, right? I don't have to, bang down their door. The person that needs the message and wants to hear it, he'll hear it. That's why I'm here. And it's the same thing. Like, we don't have to do anything extra for it.
Right.
But be real and authentic and put our desires out there, put our wants out there. Like, what are we attracting in our life?
Yeah. Yeah. Jamar, your family was right. You are the lucky one.
I appreciate that.
They were right. They were right. But wow, this is amazing. So, Jamar, we're going to end the show right now. But I really do appreciate you coming on the show today. And I know we're gonna do a part 2, right?
We do a part 2, part 3, part 4. The person that need to hear this, we hear, and I look forward to working with anyone. And if you've never been a part of a mastermind, part of a tribe of people that want more out of life and want freedom and want to take care of their family. Of course, everybody wants the money. We all about that, but we have a bigger why than just the money.
Right. And how can people follow you or get in contact with you or the program?
So on Facebook, I'm on Jamar James. My website is jamarjames.com. If you want to schedule a call with me, it is at jamarjames.io.
I love this.
Yeah, make it.
All right.
I stand behind everything I do. And
I'd like everyone who's listening and watching, make sure you subscribe and tune in because we have more of Jamar James. We have more episodes to come.